everyone, this is Linda here, and I'm very happy to be with you for the pre-concert talk. And this is all about Mozart, or some things about him you'll learn in this first pre-concert talk. So, this is, of course, entitled Fun Facts About Mozart, and we would like to, or I would like to, go through some historical interesting things about Mozart and in his lifetime. Of course, those who are listening or will be listening to this program will, of course, know the name Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. There was a famous movie, of course, Amadeus made. But today we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, of course, Mozart's biography and his achievements. So I wonder if anyone can tell me what was Mozart's first ever documented composition. So this piece, written at just 5 years of age, Mozart wrote his Minuet and Trio. So this Minuet and Trio, a piano piece, and documented as number 1 in the Köchel catalog. It's very interesting in its construction. For a 5-year-old, it's absolutely prodigious and incredible in its in his structural awareness. And Mozart absolutely knew everything he was doing and really what his intentions were at that young age. That's just astounding to think about, mind-blowing actually. So how about I play just the opening of the melody, the main theme of this Minuet and Trio that Mozart wrote. So I'll just grab my violin here and let's listen to the opening theme of Mozart's first ever composition, written when he was just 5 years old. So here we have the key of G major. So sunshine, optimism, as Mozart is ever famous for. So we have the opening. And then repeat. And then continues in the, goes to the minor kind of. And then back to major. And then continue. So that's the first part of Mozart's famous piece, written when he was just 5 years old. The first section of the Minuet and Trio. So of course the Trio section is more, it's kind of more lyrical. The first section quite lively and then you have the contrast. And then yeah, so all this goes on in the second section of Mozart's famous Minuet and Trio, written, as I said, just when he was 5 years old. So, of course, Mozart was very quickly recognized as an incredible, astounding child prodigy, and it's not just something that the parents pushed. It was actually like they do these days sometimes, I have to admit. This was actual real talent, and talent that the world we'll probably never see again. It was a gift, I believe personally, from God. At this time in music history, 1756, born in Salzburg in Austria. So Mozart, of course, had, of course, many talents playing on this or that instrument, but it's interesting that he would play a lot of piano duets or on the harpsichord, clavichord, what they had in those days, the early keyboard instruments. So he would play along with his sister, Maria, and often known as Nanel in many history books, music history books. So it's interesting to realize something about his sister, which perhaps many of you may not have heard before. So, of course, we know his sister traveled with, his sister Maria traveled with Wolfgang and their father, and they toured many cities in Europe, and as really Wunderkinder, as or wonder children. But it's not just about that. It's interesting that Maria really had a close bond with her brother. It's interesting to see that she was doing all the touring and performing with her brother up until 18 years of age. And then after that, that finished because it wasn't quite the tradition of the day and the thing to be, famous for compositions. And she was also a composer in her own right. But she, in her younger days, but she didn't, it wasn't the fashion for, the men had to be performers, composers. It wasn't quite the thing for a woman to do. So, it's interesting. Mozart corresponded with her a lot, and also praised her compositional ability. But then, just before 2 years, it said before he passed away, it's believed that he lost correspondence with her. So it's interesting. But it's also worth noting, just another interesting little fact about Mozart and in his lifetime. He really adored animals, and he was known to have several pets. So they include a pet horse and most notably, however, a pet starling. So a starling. And in 1784, he was fascinated that the bird was actually singing the melody of the theme of his still unpublished piano concerto. So he really was astounded, and it became his pet, it's said, that particular bird in 1784. And of course, Mozart had a great sense of humor. He was very sociable, and this is evident, I think, in a lot of his early works. They're such bright, happy pieces, and a lot of, even in Mozart's later period, it's still evident, even though more dramatic in nature, some of his works, there's still this fresh optimism that comes through this sunshine. And really, it's important to realize Mozart had a very active life, of course, and very, very busy traveling with his sister and performing, but also he was saddened at one point to learn that his mother passed away. And at that time, it's interesting that he started to write a lot more in the minor tonality. So that tells us that he was, of course, feeling very sad. And these melancholy pieces, I guess you can call them melancholy in many ways, but even so, they have their moments of energy and optimism. So he, of course, was known to write the Eighth Piano Sonata, the A minor piano sonata at that time. His E minor violin sonata is what you're going to be hearing in just a short little while today. That's part of our recital program tonight, so please, friends, do join us for that. And so Mozart started to explore the minor tonality a lot more at that time when his mother passed away. And just a little bit about, of course, his collaboration with great musicians of the time. There was one violinist called Rina Sinasachi, and he was very keen. It's historically documented that he wrote to his father and said that we are very happy to have another sonata which I'm writing. We're going to play at her concert. And it's the 32nd, documented now as the 32nd violin sonata. In B flat major, this is very sunny work, and again, this is one of the works that you'll hear in our recital just in a short while. So that work is in 3 movements, and we have a grand opening theme, and that you won't hear again. In the second section, it continues with quite a different melody, and then after that, you will hear the lyrical slow movement. So the lyrical slow movement is very, very interesting, again, because in the middle, you can hear that melancholic character coming through. And it's really interesting to notice how it's really exploring that tonality. And so it's interesting also to notice that the sound color of the violin changes. So exploring the tonality of the A string, and of course is a higher position in the A string. So you will notice that if you will be listening tonight that we have this violin sonata, and we will of course enjoy those moments with you, and we hope that you can join us tonight. Just one moment, please. So one moment here. Back with you in a second. So, back again. And we have 3 sonatas actually tonight that we will be performing. And we have, of course, the different keys represented. So we have the minor, E minor sonata in the middle, and then we also have B flat major to finish. And opening, we have, sorry, my mistake, it's in the middle we will have the E minor, but in the first part we will have E minor sonata, and then in the middle we'll have F major, and then we will finish with the B flat major. So of course you can see there several keys that we will be exploring with Mozart, and it's really noteworthy also that Mozart really adored the clarinet as an instrument, and so he of course really wanted to explore its amazing sound colors and different registers, and he really adored it. There was a time where he decided to write a clarinet quintet in A major, the Sunshine A major key for Mozart, and also he wrote the famous clarinet concerto with the incredibly beautiful slow movement. So in Mozart's slow movements, what I want to highlight here is that he uses a lot of these distant keys, distant sound colors and tonalities, and takes us away into such a different place listening to it. And this is important for me personally, because when I perform Mozart's works, I try to touch on that deeper spiritual side. So yeah, that's just a little bit about the program itself that you hopefully will be tuning into in just a short while. Mozart, of course, born in Salzburg, as I said, in 1756, and he unfortunately left us far too soon in 1791. But of course, we will not have time today to go into absolutely all those fascinating in his lifetime, these details, and we will talk more about that in our next one, because we will have a concert next week, and so there will be another pre-concert talk as well. And friends, it's very important to realize that a lot of Mozart's works, of course, they've been made very famous, and that's because it's not hard to see why. I mean, they are great pieces, great works, and they earned a very, very highly regarded place in the concert repertory of violin, of piano, and even other instruments like clarinets and the French horn and bassoon as well. So it's very, very interesting to see how Mozart developed his own style in these compositions for those instruments. So Mozart, as I said, he was very sociable and witty, and he loves a joke, and yeah, it's very evident in his violin concertos. They are often described by many as operas, and actually it's interesting to see to notice that there was a certain professor by the name of Jarvis, if I'm not mistaken. He did some serious research in Darwin, and it's interesting that he really followed forensic evidence of his feelings that Mozart perhaps may not have written all of his 5 or actually 7 violin concertos. So it's interesting because he examined the manuscripts and found that they were signed in a different way. So not just Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, but Amadeus Wolfgang Mozart as well. And so that's a very interesting story. Perhaps we'll talk a bit more about that next time. But yeah, Mozart, of course, in his jovial character, of course, the serenades and the string quartets, they are very clearly examples of his lightheartedness, and he really loved a good joke, and he was, of course, someone with many friends. He loved to socialize, and yeah, of course, he left us all too soon. But yeah, a little bit about his piano concertos, although we won't be hearing any of them today or in our series. But it's interesting to note that the piano concertos up to number 27, they are, of course, very widely differing in the style. Of course, early Mozart is a little bit different from the later Mozart compositional style. But yeah, generally the earlier works are more with sunshine, and then later on Mozart developed this dramatic passion, which is very interesting to look at. Again, in a lot of the minor keys. So the C minor 24th Piano Concerto, the D minor, it's known to be a very dark piece of Mozart's, the number 20 Piano Concerto, D minor. So, as I said, we will be performing the E minor, the violin sonata tonight, and it's very interesting to really savor those minor Mozart keys, because it's not so often in Mozart's compositions that he used the minor, but when he did, it was something really significant. So that's about all for our first little pre-concert talk, and we look forward to our next one next week. But stay tuned. We hope that you've got your tickets for our concert tonight, and the link is going to be in the description. I'll just put it up there. So just remember that you've still got time to book your ticket for the concert tonight, and we look forward very much to playing for you and enjoying with you the music, the timeless music of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. So thanks for watching, and we look forward to tonight. Bye.